This isn't a message for someone looking for motivation. It's a message for those ready to face themselves. What you're about to hear might be hard, not because I'm judging you, but because it will force you to look at the one place you probably want to avoid: inside yourself. It's hard to focus on yourself, but that's where true change begins. It's easy to blame everything around you: your environment, the system, luck, or other people. But it's much harder to admit that sometimes we're the ones holding ourselves back. If deep down you know you've been moving through life with the brakes on, this is for you. If you feel like there's more inside you, more to give, more to create, more to live for, but something always stops you when it's time to start, this is your call. This is a journey into your inner world, where the real challenge isn't out there, it's in your own mind. It's not easy, but it's real. And if you take it, you'll find something that can change everything. Right now, as you listen, there's an energy inside you that doesn't belong to you. There's a quiet force behind every excuse. It's a voice that sounds understanding, telling you that it's okay to rest, that you can wait, that tomorrow will be better. It convinces you that skipping today is fine, but as days and years go by, that voice keeps you stuck. It's not loud, but it's there, and it never lets you move forward. This voice doesn't come to destroy you. Instead, it gently persuades you to stay where you are, to remain the same. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand, it suggests. But in that soft whisper lies its true power. It doesn't want to destroy you, it just wants to keep you where you are. And without realizing it, you give in. This isn't just a theory. It's what millions of people face every day. They wake up knowing they have more to do, but they end up stuck in distractions. They have dreams and ideas, but never act on them. They keep telling themselves they'll start tomorrow, when everything's right. But tomorrow never comes because the problem isn't outside, it's inside. It's not about lacking talent or ability. It's that your mind has learned to avoid discomfort, to stay in its comfort zone. Your mind isn't designed to help you grow. It's built to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to thrive. It just wants you to survive. And anything that challenges this, anything that demands energy, triggers your mind's defense mechanism. That's why it's so hard to get started, and why you procrastinate. You're not lazy or broken. You're stuck in a pattern that wasn't made for you to succeed, but for you to repeat what you've always done. Today, though, you can break that cycle. But it won't happen through motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It lasts only as long as your mood. What really creates change is awareness, and what keeps it going is action. Small, consistent action. Start with something so small that it's impossible to fail. If you want to write a book, don't think about the whole thing, just write one sentence. If you want to work out, don't plan an hour at the gym, just do one push-up. Read one page, move for 2 minutes. That's enough. When you start small, your mind doesn't see it as a threat, and by doing it, you break the inertia. Once that's broken, movement starts to build a new identity. You are what you do, not what you think. And if you start with the smallest step, you can completely change yourself. The problem isn't that you're not starting big enough. The problem is that you're not starting at all. When you try to change everything at once, you end up doing nothing. You get overwhelmed, frustrated, and go back to square one. You don't need big plans. You need small actions repeated every day. That, over time, creates the change you're looking for. This is where your real transformation begins. It's not magical, it's real. By making small, mindful decisions every day, you start rewriting your story. You don't need to feel ready to begin, you just need to take action. And in that movement, your soul is freed. Each small action becomes a declaration to the universe that you're ready to stay present, not to impress anyone, but to truly meet yourself. Next, we'll dive into how to build simple routines that make action automatic, and how to remove internal resistance for good. But for now, remember this: you don't have to change your whole life in one day. You just need to start and stay aware while you do. Part 2. The hidden power of rhythm. Your daily habits shape your life. If you learned in the first part that every change starts with a small action, today you'll understand why that action needs to be repeated. Not just once, not whenever you feel like it. It has to be repeated consistently, with rhythm, order, and purpose, because that's how you turn desire into reality. The wise have known for ages. The universe responds not to random impulses, but to a steady, ongoing pulse. And since you're part of that universe, your life follows the pattern you create over time. Your reality is a result of what you repeatedly do, what you do automatically, and what has silently become your personal law. If you keep avoiding, you'll live in a state of lack. But if you keep taking action, you'll align with abundance. This is the law of rhythm, one of the universal laws that govern creation. Everything with power is sustained by rhythm, breathing, heartbeat, day and night, the seasons, evolution. Nothing happens overnight. Everything is built from an invisible sequence that gives it structure. And in your life, that sequence has a name: routine. But not just any routine, a sacred routine. Not one based on forced effort or pointless sacrifice. We're talking about a daily practice that doesn't depend on how you feel, your motivation, or your mood. Because if you rely on your feelings to get things done, you'll stay stuck. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Without a system or structure to keep you going, you'll fall short over and over. That's why the second key is this: make action inevitable. Not a choice, not a decision, but something that happens every day, just like the sun rises without fail. This isn't just about being productive. It's about metaphysics. Every time you do something automatically, you send a message to the universe. You're saying, "This is who I am. This is what I do. This is the vibration I'm creating." And the universe responds. So, if you want to be a writer, write every day. If you want to be disciplined, create an environment where discipline is the norm. If you want to attract a new reality, repeat the actions that match that reality. Not because it's some magic trick, but because this is how the laws of the mind, energy, and spirit work. The issue is that most people live by chance. Each day they wonder, should I do this? Is it a good time? Do I feel like it today? These questions drain their energy because deciding takes effort, and when fatigue sets in, the mind tends to choose the easy route, doing nothing. That's why a true spiritual master doesn't leave their practice to chance. They make it a ritual, a law of their day. They don't question whether to meditate, they meditate. They don't debate whether to act, they act. Not because they're slaves to routine, but because they know that conscious repetition is the bridge between desire and manifestation. When you create a system that's so simple and clear that you follow it even on your worst days, that system becomes stronger than your excuses, stronger than your resistance, stronger than your old self. And here's the magic. You don't need willpower. You need a plan. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Put the book on your pillow so it's the last thing you see before bed. Schedule your practice like an appointment you can't miss. Make it so easy, so logical, so natural that you do it without thinking, like breathing or walking. Every action repeated with intention becomes a part of your energy, and that energy begins to attract new opportunities, people, and ideas. Your life will reorganize, your reality will align, and what once seemed impossible will feel natural. That's discipline from awareness. It's not punishment, obligation, or rigidity. It's a way of loving your purpose, a way of reminding yourself each day who you are choosing to be. The most powerful routines aren't the ones that demand the most from you. They're the ones that require the least effort, that flow with your reality but keep you grounded in your vision. You repeat them, not out of pressure but out of devotion. On a spiritual level, this is a declaration. I'm ready to live my new reality. In the next part, you'll learn about the third key, the simplest yet most powerful tool to break the cycle of inaction. So small that it may seem useless until you see the results. But before moving on, think about this question. What action can I make so easy, so brief, so inevitable that failure is impossible? Start there, because that's the first step toward a routine that changes your energy. And your energy, as you know, creates your reality. Part 3. Break the spell. The law of first movement. There are days when everything feels stuck, when your mind feels heavy, your energy is low, and even the thought of moving forward seems impossible. These days come out of nowhere, and if you're not ready, they can trap you. But listen closely. No matter how stuck you feel, no matter how thick the fog in your mind is, or how many times you failed before, there's a secret, a key that, once you know how to use it, can unlock any door. The key is simple. Move for just 2 minutes. Only 2. But do it with full presence and intention, with the decision to break the spell of inertia that keeps you stuck. It might seem like nothing, but it's actually huge. On a deeper level, that first movement is a shift in your energy. It's a message to the universe. My energy has changed. And when your energy changes, everything changes. In metaphysics, it's understood this way. Reality doesn't respond to your thoughts, but to the actions that follow them. An idea is just a mold, but only action brings it to life. And that action can be small, like opening a book, taking a deep breath, or making a phone call you've been avoiding. It can be walking for 2 minutes, writing a sentence, tidying up a corner, stretching, anything. But it needs to be done with awareness. Because the real problem isn't the task, it's the first step. Before you start, everything feels too heavy, too overwhelming. But once you take that first step, the energy shifts, your mind wakes up, and what seemed impossible suddenly becomes possible. This is the universal principle of energy inertia. Energy stays in its current state unless something moves it, and you can be that force, but you don't need to struggle or force yourself. You just need to act. A gesture, a breath, a step. Small, but real. This is mental alchemy. This is spiritual transformation, changing a stuck heavy energy into one that's moving. And when you act with intention, you break the spell. The ancient wisdom knew this. A body at rest stays at rest, but a moving body calls the soul to return. And in that return, miracles happen. Don't tell yourself you need to train for an hour. Train for 2 minutes. Don't try to write 10 pages. Write for 2 minutes. Don't promise yourself an entire afternoon of study. Study for 2 minutes. Then see what happens. The magic is that once you start, it's easier to keep going than to stop. The ego wants everything to be all or nothing. Awareness knows that the eternal begins in the smallest steps. Each time you choose to move, even with something small, you're retraining yourself. You're telling yourself, I am someone who takes action. And that shift in identity is what breaks the inertia that keeps you stuck. It doesn't matter if today you only take that tiny step. That step is not small. It's the crack through which light enters. Don't underestimate the power of a small, conscious action. The universe doesn't reward big intentions. It rewards the will that shows up in action. And if, after giving your best, you only manage to move for 2 minutes and then stop, celebrate. You didn't fail. You chose yourself again, and each time you do that, your soul grows stronger. This is how you defeat laziness, not through force, but with strategy. Not by fighting, but with presence. And little by little, you transform. You stop being the person stuck in their head and become the person who acts, who decides, who moves with purpose. In the next section, we'll dive even deeper into how these 3 keys, when applied with intention, can not only change your days but your entire life. You might wonder, how does all this relate to metaphysics, universal laws, or spiritual awakening? The answer is everything. Because metaphysics isn't just theory. It's spiritual practice. And these 3 keys you're learning aren't just mental tricks. They're living expressions of the universal laws that shape both the universe and your life. When you take that first step, however small, you're activating 3 laws working together. 1. The law of mentalism. Everything starts with the mind. The universe is a thought. sustained in the consciousness of the all. When you think about acting, you create a possibility, but when you actually act, you make that thought real. You turn an idea into reality. 2. The law of vibration. Everything vibrates, nothing is still. Action, no matter how small, raises your energy. It breaks the static of a stuck mind and creates a new vibration that the universe recognizes and amplifies. 3. The law of cause and effect. Every cause has an effect. Every conscious action is a seed. Even if you don't see immediate results, you've started a chain reaction. By changing the starting point, you're changing the end result. This is metaphysics in action. When you act, even when you don't feel like it, when you choose to move despite lack of energy, or when your ego tells you it's impossible, this isn't just a strategy. It's spiritual alchemy. It's how you break free from old patterns and rewrite your energy from within. You don't need to fully understand the laws for them to work, but when you do understand them, you can use them to your advantage. You're not just here to survive, you're here to master your reality with an awakened mind. To move as a channel of divine will, stopping the endless waiting and starting to manifest your dreams. That's why this message isn't just motivation, it's applied metaphysics. And every time you take action from a higher level of awareness, you become a living example of these laws. Your life changes not by chance, but because you've shifted the energy that shapes your reality. Part 4. Rewrite your destiny with awareness. Everything in life happens twice. First in the unseen world, then in the visible world. It starts as an intention and then becomes a reality. But there's a truth that many are afraid to accept. You're not here to wait for your destiny. You're here to create it. And you create it not through big events, but through small, mindful actions done over time. You shape your destiny with your daily energy, with the choices you make when no one is watching. You create it every time you act from a higher level of awareness. And that's the true path to awakening. Many people think that changing your life requires a moment of sudden insight, a supernatural experience, or a perfect sign that pushes everything into place. But it doesn't. What truly brings change is the simple, the steady, the intentional, the small routine, the little step, the first move. The 3 keys you've just learned are not just another formula. They're activation codes. They're spiritual tools you can use in daily life. Because each time you use them, you're creating a new path. You're reprogramming your energy field. You're moving away from the old version of yourself, the one that repeats patterns, procrastinates, and just survives. You're stepping into the vibration of a creator. Listen closely. The life you desire already exists on an invisible level, but you can only access it when your vibration matches it. The quickest way to raise that vibration isn't by visualizing, affirming, or waiting. It's by taking action. Even when you don't feel like it. Do the minimum, but do it. Stick with the small actions, but stick with them. Create a routine that doesn't question whether you can, but reminds you that you already are. That's vibrational alchemy. It's making time your ally. It's creating new emotional memories. It's training your body to become the tool of your mind, not its barrier. And then something shifts, not in the world outside, but within you. You no longer see yourself as someone who just sets intentions. You see yourself as someone who manifests them. You stop identifying with your thoughts and start identifying with your actions. You don't define yourself by your dreams anymore, but by what you do every single day, without making excuses. That's real freedom and true spirituality. Because the soul didn't come here to float around with ideas, it came to make real change. And that change starts when you take these keys, make them part of your life, and apply them, even on your toughest days. It doesn't matter if today all you can manage is 2 minutes of action. It doesn't matter if your routine is simple. It doesn't matter if what you do seems small. Because what you're shifting isn't just your body. It's your energy, your connection with the universe, your destiny. From now on, this is no longer just knowledge. It's a commitment to yourself, to your soul, to your growth. It's not about strict discipline. It's about loving your purpose. It's about holding your energy steady, even when your mind wants to retreat. It's about remembering, in every small action, that you no longer live by doubt, but by decision. And if you do this, if you truly commit to this path, something irreversible starts to happen. Your life begins to move in a new direction. Opportunities you didn't see before begin to show up. The right people come into your life. Your energy changes. Your story shifts. And when you look back, you won't see one big miraculous moment. You'll see thousands of small, almost invisible moments where you chose to act, even when the easiest thing was to wait. That's where the magic begins. That's where your true destiny starts. Part 5. The Lie You Wear. Here's a hard truth that can set you free once you truly get it. You're not the person you think you are. For years you've been wearing a mask, a persona, a story that's made you believe you have limits. You think you can't stay disciplined, that you don't have enough energy, or that you don't know where to start. But that version of you isn't real. It's a construct, built from repeating thoughts, words, and actions since you were a child. You absorbed this story without even realizing it, from people who were also asleep to their own truth. And just like anything repeated over and over, it became familiar, and eventually, it became comfortable. And over time, it became invisible. Now, every time you say, "I can't," "I've always been this way," or "I'm not good at this," you're just repeating that story. You're reinforcing a lie that was never really you. And deep down, you know this. You know there's a part of you that wants more freedom, more purpose, more authenticity. That can't stand living a life that doesn't resonate with who you truly are. What really hurts when you stay stuck isn't just frustration. It's your soul calling out from within, begging you to let go of that old identity, to stop holding on to that voice that says, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I'll change when I feel ready." But you resist. Why? Because it hurts. It's easier to keep the excuse alive than to let that old self die. The ego doesn't want to disappear. It wants to keep you in the same place, safe, comfortable, asleep. But awareness isn't about comfort. It's about waking you up. And when it does, the first thing it shows you is who you are not. This is why the journey is uncomfortable. It forces you to face yourself. And in that reflection, you don't see your achievements. You see your patterns, your excuses, your justifications, and all the times you've delayed your dreams. At that point, you have a choice. Keep defending your old self or start dismantling it. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming someone else. To transform into someone else, you have to let go of who you're no longer meant to be. That's a big part of what spirituality is about. Not just meditating, but releasing the mental habits that keep you small. The universe never denied you anything. You denied yourself when you decided you were too small, too weak, or too stuck to create something greater. That's the prison, and you hold the key. Do you know how to break free from that old identity? By taking new actions, making uncomfortable decisions, and taking steps you avoided because they challenged who you thought you were. The law of rhythm reminds us that anything that isn't renewed keeps repeating, and the law of polarity echoes the same truth. For every "I can't," there's an "I can" waiting to emerge. In every fear, there's hidden power. In every moment of inertia, there's energy waiting to be unlocked, but only when you choose to act. This path you're on isn't just about changing habits, it's about changing your energy. And what changes your energy isn't what you think. It's what you choose to do when your mind is telling you to quit. It's about what you do when no one is watching, when your body feels heavy, when your mind is full of complaints, when the past is calling you back, and you decide to move forward anyway. That movement doesn't just shift your day, it changes your destiny. You didn't come here to live out someone else's story or repeat the patterns of your family. You came to create your own reality, to be a channel for something greater, to act with awareness. And that all starts when you release who you no longer are, when you stop protecting the image you've built and choose to become someone new, lighter, truer. truer, more authentic. No one can do this for you. No one can break that old character unless you let it go. But if you're reading this, you're already doing it. You're recognizing the mask. And once you see it, it loses its power. Now, you understand that procrastination isn't your true self. It's just a program. And like any program, it can be rewritten if you choose to be the one who rewrites it. This process, connected to metaphysics, is much deeper than just changing habits. What you're going through is inner alchemy. In spiritual alchemy, the first step is to recognize the raw material, the unrefined self, full of automatic reactions, fear, pride, guilt, and inertia. That's the self you're seeing now. But the alchemist doesn't run from it. They observe it, confront it, and transform it. The old, stuck self, it's like lead. Your task, if you choose to accept it, is to turn it into gold, but not with words. You do it with fire, the fire of action, will, and movement, because only the heat of constant action can melt those old forms. In metaphysical terms, this transformation is called raising your vibration. Your vibration doesn't change just because you want it to. It changes when you stop acting the way you used to. When your choices align more with your higher self than with the old you. That's when you start to vibrate differently. And as the law of correspondence says, as within, so without. Your outer world will start to reflect your inner world. That's real spiritual awakening. Awakening isn't about escaping. It's about being so honest with yourself that there's no room left for masks. And that's the work you're doing now. Every time you choose to move, to challenge an excuse, to ignore your ego and keep going, you're telling the universe, I am no longer that limited version of myself. I'm ready to be who I truly am. That's the language the universe understands. It doesn't care about your justifications. It only responds to your vibration. And your vibration is changing. Because alchemy is this, seeing lead with golden eyes, seeing your struggles not as failures, but as sacred material, waiting to be transformed. Only someone awake can do that, and that's why you're here. Part 6. Time, rhythm, and the reality that awaits you. Time isn't what they told you it is. It's not just a clock ticking away minutes. It's not a schedule or a calendar. Time is a vibration. It's a frequency. It's the space where your decisions meet your possibilities. Every time you act with awareness, break an excuse, and keep your energy consistent, you step into a new timeline. A timeline where your highest self already exists, and where the life you've been dreaming of is waiting for you. But you can only access it if you match its vibration. That's why repeating small actions every day isn't just a simple task. It's a powerful move. It's a silent message to the universe. I'm ready for a new level of reality. Everything shifts when you truly understand this. Your future doesn't just appear down the road. It starts to unfold the moment you do something different in the present. And keeping that present alive is true mastery. Every time you procrastinate, avoid action, or stick to the same old patterns, you stay on the same timeline, in the same cycle, going around in circles. But when you make a new choice, even if it's a tiny one, you break that loop, you change the rhythm. And when you maintain that new rhythm, the universe has no choice but to reorganize itself to match you. Time isn't what they told you. It's not a clock or calendar. Time is a vibration. It's a frequency. It's the space where your choices and opportunities meet. Every time you act with awareness, break an excuse, and keep your energy steady, you enter a new timeline, one where your highest self already exists, and where the life you want is waiting. But you can only access it if you vibrate at its frequency. That's why sticking to small, consistent actions every day isn't just a simple task. It's a quantum leap. It's telling the universe that you're ready to live on a different level of reality. When you get this, everything changes. Your destiny doesn't manifest in the future. It's activated when you take action in the present. And keeping that action going is true mastery. Every time you put things off, choose not to act, or repeat the same old patterns, you stay stuck in the same place. But when you make a new choice, even a small one, you break free from that cycle, change the rhythm, And when you stick with that new rhythm, the universe reorganizes itself around you. This isn't just a nice idea. It's the law of rhythm working in your favor. This universal law says everything moves in cycles. Whoever learns to recognize and master those cycles becomes the master of time. The ego wants fast results, but the soul knows that when you keep your vibration steady, the world responds. Not with promises, but with real, tangible changes. But here's the deeper truth, something most people don't want to face. Why is it so hard to maintain a new vibration? Because every new frequency means letting go of the old. And the old is tied to your past identity, your relationships, your environment, the way you think, speak, and move through the world. Changing your vibration means saying goodbye to parts of yourself. You have to mourn the old you, the relationships that no longer fit, and the habits that once made you feel comfortable. And not everyone is ready for that. Only those who choose their soul over their comfort can go through it. That's where real change happens, not by doing something different for one day, but by sticking with it when no one is cheering you on, when your environment doesn't understand, and when everything from your past tries to pull you back. In that moment, a new reality opens up. Time stops being linear and becomes quantum. You start attracting things that once seemed impossible because you're no longer the same person, and the universe knows it. The universe doesn't respond to what you desire. It responds to what you are. You're embodying a new version of yourself, a version that doesn't negotiate with laziness, that doesn't procrastinate, a version that acts not out of motivation, but out of alignment. That's spiritual sovereignty. That's divine presence. That's awakening. Now, you understand that your routine isn't a chain holding you down. It's a throne, and every time you choose to act, you're sitting on that throne, training your energy to sustain time. And who can sustain time? They create their reality. So what does all of this have to do with spiritual awakening? Everything. Because true spiritual awakening isn't a sudden burst of light, a vision, or a gift given to a select few. It's a shift in vibration that you maintain over time. When you stop reacting to life and start living by choice, even when you don't expect the world to change because you've already changed, that's true awakening. It happens when you choose to stay connected to your soul, even when your ego disagrees, even when the world around you doesn't understand, and even when your emotions are all over the place. Awakening is about sustaining your light, even when everything feels dark. It's about acting from awareness, not habit. It's about remembering that you're not that procrastinating body, that doubtful mind, or the story you were told. You are the one who chooses. You are the soul that creates reality with intention. You are the spark of the divine incarnated in human form. And that right there is the true definition of metaphysics. Metaphysics isn't just some abstract idea. It's the art of creating from the invisible. It's understanding that everything visible is the result of what's unseen. By holding a new vibration, you're working directly with the subtle energies where everything begins. Every small action you take with awareness, every habit you change, every pattern you break, is a command you give to your reality. A command that says, "This is no longer my past. This is my new beginning." In that moment, you're applying the law of mentalism. Everything starts in the mind, and you're shaping your mind to create a new design. You're using the law of vibration. When you move differently, you vibrate differently. You're embodying the law of correspondence. What's inside reflects on the outside, and you're rewriting the law of cause and effect. Because now, you choose to be the cause, not just the effect of what's happened to you. That's living metaphysics. That's applied spirituality. That's real alchemy. You don't need more knowledge, you need presence. And when you sustain that presence day after day, you transform from an ordinary person into someone who is truly awakened. Part 7. The body also awakens. So far, you've awakened your mind. You've faced the parts of yourself that were holding you back. You've realized that consistent action over time changes your energy, and that energy shapes your reality. But there's one more piece to this transformation that can't be ignored: your body. Your body isn't just an accessory, a prison, or a limit. It's the temple, the place where your soul resides, the tool through which your spirit expresses itself on earth. If you neglect it, if you leave it out of your transformation, you'll stay trapped in a false division, because you can't truly change your energy unless you also transform how you live in your body. Laziness doesn't just show up in your mind. It shows up in your body too. It's in your posture, your slouched shoulders, shallow breathing, and the way your body tightens and withdraws every time you doubt yourself. The body holds on to everything, every unspoken fear, every dream you didn't chase, every impulse you pushed away. Everything your mind keeps quiet, your body stores. That's why when you start moving differently, you're not just creating new habits, you're releasing those trapped memories and bringing out energies that have been dormant for too long. You're giving your soul back the space it's always deserved. This is what control of form in alchemy is about. Turning spirit into matter, turning energy into structure, turning consciousness into an awakened body. Every time you choose to stretch instead of curl up, to breathe deeply instead of holding your breath, to walk with confidence instead of dragging yourself, you're retraining your energy. You're teaching your body how to be present, to be alive, to be open to receiving. You're telling the universe, I am ready for something greater. But if your body is hunched over, tense, or closed, you're sending a mixed message. The universe doesn't listen to your words. It senses your energy, your presence, the way you occupy your body. That's why this journey is not only a mental one, it's also physical. You can't fully step into your purpose if you're not fully in your body. Here's a new key. Your body needs rituals, conscious movement, active breathing, physical actions that remind your biology who you are now and who you are no longer. Start rising differently. Walk with intention. Wake up with purpose. Eat with gratitude. Drink water like it's light, because it is, and because you are. Breathe as if the air were sacred, because it is, and because you are. Every small gesture, repeated with awareness, seals your new identity in your body. This is metaphysics. This too is alchemy. This too is awakening. The great sages understood this. It's not enough to just know. It's about embodying wisdom. Jesus didn't just talk about the kingdom of heaven, he lived it. Buddha didn't just speak about mindfulness, he embodied it in every step, every breath. You're not here to accumulate theories, you're here to be a living channel, a body through which universal consciousness expresses itself, powerfully, gracefully, and with purpose. And to do that, you must move. Not just in the world, but also inside. You need to awaken a new energy in your body that supports your new reality. Now you realize that every part of you is sacred. There's no separation between the physical and the spiritual. Your body isn't separate from your soul. Your temple is you, and the more you honor it, the more power will flow through you. So, what does this mean for a student of metaphysics? It's not a label, not an intellectual position. It's a living, daily decision. Anyone who studies metaphysics must eventually embrace their true task, to become the conscious embodiment of the principles they learn. You didn't come here just to gather knowledge. You came to turn it into energy. You came to prove that the law of mentalism isn't just a phrase, but a power that can change your world from within. You came to show that the law of vibration is more than a concept. It's the path that lifts you when your ego tries to drag you down. You came to understand that the law of correspondence is not just poetry. It's an unbreakable mirror reflecting your inner state in everything around you. Being a student of metaphysics isn't about waiting for miracles to happen. It's about becoming the channel through which they happen. It's about walking with the certainty that you create your reality. You decide how to think, how to feel, and how to act. And that energy shapes the world around you. There's no greater contradiction than studying metaphysics while continuing to delay, continuing to make excuses, and continuing to hold on to a victim mindset. Because metaphysics gives you power, but it also gives you responsibility. If you've come this far, it's no accident. Your soul is ready to embody everything you've learned. It's time to make every action a statement, every gesture a symbol, every day a sacred ceremony. That's what a true student of metaphysics does. Not just memorize, but manifest. And if deep down you feel like you haven't fully done this yet, don't blame yourself. Just recognize that right now is the moment. This is the turning point when everything can shift. If you align with what you know, you're no longer a seeker, you're a channel. And a channel doesn't wait for inspiration. A channel flows. Part 8. When the world begins to move up until now, all the changes have been internal. First, your mindset, then your body, your rhythm, your choices. Your energy has started to organize itself, rise, and vibrate in a new way. And even though things may look the same on the outside, inside, you are already a different person. But now comes the inevitable, and for many, the hardest part. Your environment begins to change. The energy you're holding starts to shift what's around you. People who once felt like they were always there for you may start to drift away. Conversations that once were easy now feel uncomfortable. Situations you used to tolerate now feel heavy. What once seemed normal begins to feel unbearable. This is the law of correspondence. As it is inside, so it is outside. Since you've changed, your external world must change to match. But no one really tells you that this shift often comes with loss, because raising your energy doesn't just attract new things, it also pushes away the old. Letting go of what's no longer a match for you, even if it no longer serves you, can hurt. It hurts because it was comfortable. It hurts because it was familiar. It hurts because, at one point, you thought it was all you deserved. But the universe, always responding to your energy, starts to clear away what no longer fits. People drift away, projects fall apart, relationships weaken, places that once felt safe now push you out. And you might ask yourself, why is this happening? If I'm doing everything right, why does everything feel like it's falling apart? The answer is simple, though profound. You're not being punished, you're being reorganized. Your new frequency is pushing away what no longer matches. The emptiness you feel, it's not a loss, it's space. Space for new things, space for what's real, space for what you truly deserve based on your higher self, not old habits. This is a sacred moment, a turning point, a quiet test from the universe to see if you're truly ready to handle what you've asked for. Because you can't bring your old life with you into your new vibration. You can't hold on to old relationships or situations when they no longer match your new identity. You can't cling to what's finished. And this is where many people give up. They want to grow, but they don't want to let go. They want to evolve, but they don't want to experience any discomfort. They want to awaken, but they don't want to leave behind what's kept them stuck. But you've made it this far, which means you are ready. Ready to navigate this shift without feeling like a victim. Ready to trust the process, even when things feel like they're falling apart. Ready to see that everything falling away was once held together by an older version of you that no longer exists. Because when you change, your reality has to change with you. That's the law. And though it may be uncomfortable, it's a blessing. You're not losing anything. You're purifying. You're not being abandoned. You're returning to yourself. And from this place, new people, new opportunities, new ideas will come, all vibrating at the same frequency you're now holding. But they won't come before you're ready. You'll only meet them when you stand firm. Not out of fear, but from confidence. The universe doesn't give you what you beg for. It gives you what you can sustain. And you are already sustaining a new reality. Even if you don't see it yet, even if it feels like everything is falling apart, even if you don't fully understand why you feel more alone than before. Solitude isn't punishment. It's sacred space. It's the quiet before a new calling. And when that call comes, you won't have to chase it. You won't have to search for it. It will find you, resonating exactly where you need to be. Part 9. The invisible door and the fear of losing what you've gained. You've done the inner work. You've moved when you didn't feel like it. You've made different choices when it was easier to stick to old patterns. You've distanced yourself from people, habits, and thoughts you once thought were familiar. And now, here you are, in a strange, in-between place. Nothing is quite the same, but you can't yet see clearly what's ahead. This space doesn't have a name, but it's one every awakened person has gone through. It's the invisible door. A subtle but real shift where you can't go back, but you haven't fully stepped into the new reality yet. This is where you need the most faith. It's the place where the mind gets loud, where your ego tries to pull you back in, where old fears show up as doubt, anxiety, and urgency. But here's the key. You're not the same person anymore, and that's your strength. You've learned to keep moving even when you don't feel motivated. You've learned to act from awareness, not impulse. And that skill is what you need now, not just to keep going, but to hold your ground. Because there's something no one often tells you. Once things start to improve, fear comes back. But it's not the fear of failing to achieve. It's the fear of losing what you've gained. When you've spent years carrying scarcity, frustration, failure, and self-doubt, your system gets used to struggle. But when things start to change, when you begin to experience improvement, opportunities, growth, the voice starts whispering, what if this doesn't last? What if I lose it? What if everything goes back to how it was? And if you don't recognize that fear, if you don't face it, it can stop you right when you're about to cross to the next level. This is where your training kicks in. This is where your true mastery is tested. This is where you must face that fear and say, I no longer make decisions based on you. I make decisions from my new vibration. Remember, you don't attract what you desire. You attract what you can sustain. Now, the universe is asking if you can truly handle your growth. If you can have more without guilt. If you can be free without sabotaging yourself. If you can live in abundance without finding excuses to go back to your old ways. Do you know why many people lose what they've gained? Because their identity is still stuck in the past. They haven't yet made space internally to hold the new. But you're ready. You didn't just manifest this change. You embodied it. You made it happen through effort, repetition, and alignment. That's what sets you apart. What you've achieved wasn't luck. It was your energy. And what's created from your energy can only be lost if you choose to go back to your old frequency. But you can't go back now. You've already felt what it's like to move with awareness. You've proven to yourself that you can act even when nothing is certain. You know what it feels like to look back and not recognize yourself. And that is freedom. Now the challenge is different. Stay grounded, not in fear, but in certainty. Stay committed to your new habits, your new identity, your clear boundaries, and your energy. Stay faithful to your vision, even if the world around you doesn't reflect it yet. Hold your vibration, even when no one else understands. Keep your light shining, even when the path feels dark again. That's what it means to be a creator. That's what it means to have real metaphysical power. Remember, the hard part isn't manifesting what you want. The hard part is being the kind of person who can hold on to what's manifested, without fear, without running back, without self-sabotage. But you're not alone anymore. You've got awareness, intention, and training by your side, and that makes you unstoppable. Part 10. The 7 Stages of Awakening, from Forgetting to Divine Power. Awakening is a journey, and like any sacred journey, it begins in darkness. Not everyone who lives is truly awake. Not everyone who learns about consciousness actually embodies it. Not everyone who asks for change is ready to make it happen. But you are already on that path. To help you stay grounded and understand that everything you experience has meaning, purpose, and order, here are the 7 stages of spiritual awakening. Each stage involves a shift, a leap, a letting go, a rebirth. These stages are not just ideas. They're real internal shifts that change your energy, and once you go through them, you can't go back to who you were. Stage 1. Forgetting. This is the longest and most common stage. You're asleep, but you don't realize it. Your life runs on autopilot, and your identity is shaped by what others expect from you. Your decisions are based on fear, comparison, or the need to fit in. You live as a reaction to your past, your surroundings, and your emotions. At this stage, your soul is buried under layers of ego, pain, and old programming. Even though you may feel that there's something more, you don't hear that inner calling yet. It's like living with your eyes open but not truly seeing. Stage 2. Sacred discomfort. Something happens that hurts more than usual. A loss, a disappointment, or just a deep sense inside that says, this can't be all there is. Nothing feels fulfilling anymore. Conversations feel shallow. Old habits no longer numb the pain, and your goals start to feel empty. This discomfort is hard to handle because it means your consciousness is beginning to wake up. You're shedding your old skin. And while that process is painful, it's also a sign that you're waking up. This pain isn't punishment. It's a call to something higher. Stage 3. Creative chaos. This is when things start to fall apart. Your mind races, your identity begins to crumble, and your relationships begin to change. You realize you no longer fit into the old version of yourself, but you don't know what the new version looks like yet. You're in the void, a sacred space where your soul begins to rebuild you. It's chaotic, but it's creative chaos, like the universe before the Big Bang, or clay waiting to become something beautiful. Stage 4. Reconnection. After the collapse, truth starts to emerge, not as an idea, but as a deep inner knowing. You begin to act differently, not because you have to, but because you can't act the old way anymore. Your choices change, your language shifts, and you start to inhabit your body in a new way. You begin to remember who you really are, not just with your mind, but with every cell of your being. Here, self-respect is born, along with the certainty that your life can be a divine expression, not just a conditioned reflection of the past. Stage 5. Mastery of rhythm. By now, you've learned how to manage your energy. You understand that the outside world responds to your inner vibration. You've realized that time isn't your enemy, and you start creating through conscious repetition. Each day becomes a spiritual practice, an opportunity to reaffirm your new self. You no longer need big, dramatic changes. You know that the great comes from the small, consistent actions. Your power becomes anchored in your everyday routine, and you understand that the law of rhythm governs your reality. Stage 6. The quantum threshold. At this stage, expansion becomes inevitable. Your energy field is so aligned that things start coming to you without effort. Opportunities appear, doors open, and things start falling into place. But with this comes the final challenge, the fear of losing what you've gained. This is the soul's test, whether you're truly ready to sustain the blessings of your new life, or whether your mind still longs for the old, familiar struggles. There's no going back now. This stage requires faith, presence, and the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs to convince anyone, because their energy speaks for itself. Stage 7. Fusion with the divine. Not everyone reaches this stage, but this is the soul's ultimate goal, living in a way where matter responds to your consciousness. Think of how Jesus didn't walk on water to show off his power, but because his vibration was so high that matter responded to him. At this level, thought becomes form, intention becomes reality, and the ego no longer has control, because there's only pure being. This may seem far off, but every step you take today, every excuse you overcome, and every habit you sustain brings you closer to this state. You didn't come here just to survive. You came to remember that you are part of the source and to manifest a reality where your soul governs and matter obeys. Final part. You are the cause, now you understand. This wasn't just a message. It was an initiation. We've walked through the stages of forgetting, chaos, discipline, and vibrational transformation. You've realized that what held you back wasn't a lack of strength, but an excess of old programming. You learned that your laziness was your ego's defense, that your excuses were like spells, and that when you sustain new habits with awareness, they become your decrees. You've discovered that your body is a temple, your environment is a mirror, and every decision you make is a key to your destiny. You now know that time is not a punishment, but a sacred field where your soul can create reality. Everything you think, feel, and do becomes vibration, and that vibration is the invisible force that shapes your life. This is metaphysics, the art of creating from the invisible, the real magic that transforms your life through aligned thoughts, emotions, and actions. You didn't come here to wait for miracles, you came to be the miracle. As the great masters taught, heaven is not far away. It's within you, and those who align with universal laws bring that heaven to earth. Today, you know you don't need permission. You only need to take command. You don't need more motivation, you just need to decide. You don't need to control the future, you just need to sustain your vibration. And when you do, the universe, as your perfect mirror, will open up to you. So now that you've heard it all, there's something you can do for yourself, to seal what you've learned, to declare that you're no longer the person who started this journey, and to affirm to the universe that your new identity has already been activated. Write in the comments, "I have full mastery over my consciousness. Thank you, Source, for all that has been created." This isn't a prayer. It's a decree, a vibrational affirmation that aligns your mind, body, soul, and environment. If you've reached this point, it's because part of you has already awakened. Now it's time to sustain, remember, and live it. This is your moment. If you want to continue walking this path with us, subscribe, but do it from a new place. Not just to watch more videos, but to deepen your mastery, because this journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Each new video will be another tool to help you remember that you are not just an effect. You are the cause. You are incarnated consciousness, and your world is starting to respond to you. Rise, sustain your energy, inhabit your power, and let your vibration speak for you.